Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into what is basically a brilliant psychological thriller that's cleverly masquerading as a 2004 blockbuster comedy. We're talking about Meet the Fockers. At first glance, it's a star-studded laugh riot. But beneath the surface, it's an absolute masterclass in escalating tension, paranoia, and the agonizing theater of social humiliation.
Okay, let's dive into this. The setup itself is a literal ticking time bomb. Greg Focker has barely survived the first movie and managed to somehow squeeze his way into the good graces of his terrifying ex-CIA future father-in-law, Jack Byrnes. But Greg is hiding a massive, explosive secret. His fiancée, Pam, is pregnant. This single concealed truth turns what should be a completely straightforward parental meet and greet into a high-stakes undercover operation.
Section 1. The Miami Pressure Cooker.
The Byrnes family doesn't just travel to Florida, they deploy. Arriving in Jack's brand new Kevlar-reinforced RV, they roll into the tropical, vibrant Miami heat like an armored division entering hostile territory. On one side, we have Jack Byrnes, conservative, rigid, utterly disciplined. He's an intelligence operative who views the entire world through a lens of suspicion. On the other side, Greg's parents, Bernie and Roz Focker. They are liberal, overly affectionate, totally free-spirited. Bernie is a stay-at-home dad, and Roz is a senior sex therapist. These are two extreme, perfectly opposed archetypes designed by the filmmakers to violently clash. From the very first handshake, the air is just thick with immediate, suffocating tension.
And this clash brings us right to the core of Jack's psychology, the circle of trust. Think of this not just as a quirky family bond, but as a highly classified intelligence dossier. It is a rigid psychological boundary established by Jack that requires absolute compliance, total transparency, and endless surveillance to remain inside. For Jack, control isn't just a preference, right? It's a survival mechanism. If you break a rule, you literally become an enemy of the state. And this brilliantly illustrates how the film structures its comedy as a series of tactical strikes on Jack's sanity. Let's look at the timeline. Day 1 gives us the turf war between Moses, the overly friendly dog, and Jinx, the prized cat, ending with a smashed RV toilet. Day 2 brings a touch football game that actually breaks Jack's back. Day 3 features a misplaced massage where Jack suspects Roz is trying to seduce him. By day 4, little Jack is watching Scarface, and by day 5, Jack is secretly running DNA tests. Every single comedic disaster aggressively breaks down family relations and pushes them closer to a brutal emotional confrontation, fueling Jack's paranoia.
Moving on to Section 2. A battle over child rearing.
So, Jack enforces what he calls the Ferber method on his 1-year-old grandson, little Jack, and his rules are absolutely non-negotiable. Enforce self-soothing when crying, strictly forbid physical coddling, and teach early sign language to boost IQ. It is suffocatingly rigid. It strips all the warmth from parenting and replaces it with cold protocol. You can literally feel the suspense mounting here because you know Greg, anxious, desperate to please Greg, is going to inevitably shatter these rules.
And shatters them he does. Left alone with a crying toddler, Greg's anxiety just completely overrides his fear of Jack. He breaks the rules, he comforts the boy, and in a desperate bid to entertain him, he inadvertently teaches the toddler a terrible curse word. The fallout is an absolute disaster zone. The cat unlatches the playpen, little Jack wanders out, glues his hands to a rum bottle, turns on the incredibly violent movie Scarface, and enthusiastically repeats his brand new favorite vocabulary word.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the reality behind the comedy. The toddler, played by twins Spencer and Bradley Pickren, delivered incredible reactions. But behind the scenes, the twins were genuinely terrified of Ben Stiller after watching him film a scene with fake blood. The crew actually had to use French fries to coax them into saying "asso," which sounded like the curse word, just to capture that perfect chaotic on-screen magic without psychologically scarring the child actors.
Section 3. Paranoia and Truth Serum.
At this point, Jack's inherent paranoia goes into total overdrive. He meets Isabel, the Fockers' former housekeeper, and her 15-year-old son Jorge, who bears an uncanny resemblance to Greg. Compound that with Bernie's accidental slip that Greg lost his virginity to Isabel a decade and a half ago, and Jack's CIA brain instantly connects the dots. He becomes utterly convinced Jorge is Greg's illegitimate son, leading him to secretly collect hair samples for a covert DNA test.
So, we really have to ask ourselves, just how far will Jack go when his entire worldview is threatened? Well, the answer lies in the ultimate boundary-crossing interrogation at the engagement party. Jack literally injects Greg with a shot of truth serum. This is the tragicomic peak of Greg's anxiety-driven journey. Stripped of all his inhibitions and speaking in this bizarre, comical Darth Vader-esque voice, a totally helpless Greg blurts out the secret pregnancy to the entire room. In his drugged confusion, he even falsely claims Jorge as his son. The ticking time bomb finally explodes in a spectacular, deeply humiliating public spectacle.
Section 4. The fallout and arrests.
But here is where the cringe humor really grounds itself in emotional reality. Jack's wife, Dina, rebels. She refuses to pack her bags, completely exposing the fact that Jack drugged Greg. But more importantly, she reveals that the entire family hid the pregnancy from him specifically because of his relentless inability to trust anyone. It highlights the sad isolation of Jack's paranoia, you know? His obsession with control has pushed away the very family he's trying so hard to protect. The fallout from this is frantic and totally physical. Jack drives away alone in his Kevlar RV. Bernie and Greg give chase, only to be pulled over, tasered, and arrested by an overzealous cop. Meanwhile, the DNA results come back, proving Jorge's father is actually just a baseball player. Realizing his massive miscalculation, Jack whips the RV around to defend the Fockers, and in true slapstick fashion, he ends up getting tasered and arrested himself. The families literally collide with the law in total chaos. Finally, Section 5. Unbreakable Circle of Trust. Outside the jail, having survived tasers, truth serum, and endless humiliation, an exhausted Greg finally stands his ground. He drops that desperate need to please and forces the two stubborn patriarchs to just end their feud. Greg's transformation from an anxious, walking disaster into an assertive peacemaker is the true emotional victory of our explainer today. He forces Jack to humbly apologize and officially welcome the Fockers into the circle of trust. And speaking of cultural clashes, the tension wasn't just on screen. The MPAA initially hesitated on the Focker name because it sounded a little too much like an R-rated expletive. Universal's legal team actually had to dig up real people with the surname to prove it was a legitimate name before the Hollywood Ratings Board would approve it.
And that cleared the way for the film to gross a staggering $522.7 million worldwide. This incredible financial success wasn't driven by special effects, right? It was driven entirely by the magnetic, contrasting chemistry of this legendary A-list cast, turning incredibly uncomfortable family dynamics into pure cinematic gold.
So, the crucial point is revealed in the film's post-credit scene. Hidden baby cam footage shows that the entire Focker family, Greg included, had been secretly breaking all of Jack's rigid rules all along, showering little Jack with affection behind Jack's back. It proves that chaotic, unconditional love will always outsmart rigid control. Which leaves us with this final thought. When two vastly different worlds collide, does true family unity come from enforcing strict, rigid boundaries, or from embracing the messy, unpredictable chaos of love? Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to ponder that the next time you have to meet your in-laws.